Welcome back to Pixel Fusion. Today I've prepared a time-lapse of making my Sylveon Sprite. As a reminder, I did borrow this sprite from a DeviantArt user by the name of Kyle Dove. I will link to his profile in the description below. During the time-lapse I talk a bit about color contrast and the importance of it. Hopefully you find some use from that. Without further ado, let's jump into the time-lapse. Let's begin. So here, I'm just starting to lay out the basic color I'm using. I started with the main body here, so this is more of the peach to white area. I'm just laying out the outline of it. I chose this one because it's the darkest of the peach color I'll be using, so it serves ultimately as an outline to those areas. Now I'm using a slightly lighter one. This is the other part of the black line coloring that I used. And you can see its shape taking form. Now, I want to take this time to talk about color contrast a bit, and you'll see it a bit more when I get into the other pink. But the color contrast is really what sets it apart. A lot of times, the black line is used to draw a very strong distinction between different parts of, well, the object, whether it be an arm or clothing, etc., etc. Because this more pastel approach of coloring the lines is in place, color contrast becomes even more important, and that's something that needs to be taken into account when you're designing your piece. As you can see here, I'm doing the white now, which is the lightest layer. It's, I think this one looks really good overall. Now there is something with my display here that I only noticed afterwards, which is at some point the pegboard gets slid off to the side slowly and part of the piece is off camera, so you can't really see me building its tail. I'm gonna try to get better about doing that. Anyhow, back to the point. There you can see Sylveon's coming along very, very nicely. Now I'm starting to work on the darker pinks of its body. I used this really dark red, or I ended up fading more into dark red than the standard Artkal pinks, because the Artkal pinks tend to have more of a purple hue to them, and I really prefer my pinks to stay in the red spectrum. Regardless, you can see me working and adding in more of those outlines I talked about. I switched back to the other color there because one of it has a bow up in its hair and a ribbon coming out from that bow. Those use the base body and not the darker pinks. Just filling in the head there. It looks good. It really does. At first, I thought with some of the pinks I ended up using, it was going to be a little too saturated, but it's good. Let's see. So, as you're aware, there's a blue part to Sylveon. Its eyes and the tips of the ribbon are blue. And you'll see me get to that here in just a moment. But for that, I chose more of a skyish blue that again fades into a darker blue. I have to admit that Artkal's blues they have a lot of them, but there's a little bit of hit and miss to it. I find that I often fade from their more purpley blues into sky blue and eventually white, which is what I did there with the eyes. So here's something that comes up. When I add the extra board like this, I just literally put it next to and extend it enough that I can see where the pattern is, and then I can just continue building from there. This can be a little tricky at times, and there have been times in which I've made a terrible mistake and had to redo big portions of it. Here I'm just double checking to make sure something adds up. When I was building this, I did actually make a mistake, and it took me a minute or two to figure out what was wrong. The ears of Sylveon, they're cute. I'm not sure, well, I can talk about the color contrast a bit more here, because with the difference between the head and the ears, and that color contrast, that fading to a darker tone is absolutely needed in order to make sure people can tell the difference. It's something we really tend to take for granted when we're looking at objects, I think. In a way, it reminds me of basic shading that I learned in various art courses. Here's some more touches of blue, and with that, I believe it is done. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that time lapse. I decided to use music from X and Y because that's where Sylveon is from. Coming up next, I'm going to be doing a bit more of an elaborate project. You might recall that I specialize in framed bead sprites. Well, recently one of my portraits sold, and so I'm going to be making a new one to replace it. I've decided to remake my Final Fantasy Tactics waterfall portrait. This was actually one of the first ones that sold, and I've been meaning to remake it for a while. Anyhow, I'm going to go through all the steps of making it with you, and so I hope to see you for the next few episodes while I do that. Have a good day, and thank you for watching.